Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to give you a few tips that I have learned over the years of homeschooling on how to balance work and school. And if you have tried to do this, especially within this last year, you know it is challenging. It is so emotionally and mentally draining sometimes because you literally have work coming at you saying you need to get stuff done, and you have all your kids coming at you needing to be educated. And so I feel like there's a few tips that can really help you and de-stress you. So the first tip that I want to discuss is schedule. And it's not so much that you need a strict schedule, it's that pre-planning is everything. And also realizing that you do not need to follow a public school schedule if you are doing homeschooling on your own and you don't have to meet up with teachers or you don't have to do certain things according to your home state, then this is very, very freeing. To have a flexible schedule is everything. So over the past 4 years I've been homeschooling my kids. I started with just one child and we had baby twins at the time. And then all of a sudden the twins got older and they joined into our homeschool day, and my demand on my time became way, way more. And then we also added a fourth child, at which now I am homeschooling all 4 of them at home. So what we decided way back then was to make homeschool a priority, and I cut my hours at work. So when we started all this, I was 100% at work, and I work as a nurse. And so I do 12-hour shifts, but what that means really, because I work a good hour away, is that I am gone from between 5 and 5:30 in the morning, and I don't get home until 9:30 at night. So what that ends up saying is I have absolutely 0 minutes in those days to homeschool my kids at all. They know when mommy works, it's a free day. And so over the years, I have kind of trained them to be able to possibly do a few things without me. And I feel like this is the first year that it's actually working. So as far as schedule, I feel like you need to do whatever your family feels like is best. So for our family, it definitely is not following the public school schedule. I don't like starting sharp at 8 a.m. and then we eat at noon and then we're done at 3. Like, I like having kind of a slow morning. I did put a stipulation this year that school gets started by 9. There's no TV until school is completed, because otherwise that's a huge rabbit hole and you lose the kids for the next 2 to 3 hours in the TV screen. And then also we do have to get done most days by 3 because we have to leave for dance at that time. But there's been previous years that I realized that my oldest child schooled the best in the evening. And so I would literally start schooling her at 6 o'clock at night. But she did wonderful when I started doing that. She went from dragging her feet and not being willing to get anything done and having bad grades to being absolutely awesome and just sailing through all the curriculum. With the schedule, you need to remember it doesn't necessarily need to be Monday through Friday. There's weekends. There's 7 days per week that you can school. It does not have to fit into the traditional schedule. So for us, this is kind of a good thing because I work at least 2 days per week. And so that means that the kids would miss almost 50% of the days if I was doing Monday through Friday. And so it just was not working for us. And so we started throwing in some weekend school if we needed to. Or the other part of work is I went down in percentage, but I also try to pick up some extra weekends so that I'm home during the week to school the children. The other big thing about scheduling that I realized is do not overschedule. It is so easy to see all these different curriculums that you want to use and all these different subjects that you want your children to do. And you want to go more in depth with the unit study with this. And you want to do all of the science projects. And you want to do all these art projects. And let's throw in piano lessons. And let's throw in dance lessons. And let's go to the library for story time twice a week. And you can see how all this adds up so rapidly. You really need to block off your school time, and you need to cherish that time. So what I mean is during certain hours, you need to turn off your phone, don't do social media, stay off your emails, don't take phone calls. I used to do everything and I would tell everybody we're a homeschooler and we have a free schedule and I could do whatever works best for you. So what that meant was we were constantly on the run for different appointments, and then everybody was calling me at home because they figure I was home and I was free, and next thing you know, an hour later, I'm finally getting off the phone. Friends would ask for help, and so we'd leave during the middle of the day and go try to get stuff done for them, which I really, really love doing. But I also realized all it was doing was causing us more stress, and then the kids were stressed, and then our relationship was failing because of it. And so now my family knows if I don't answer my phone, that means I'm schooling the kids and that I will call them back when necessary. Or if they just have a really quick question, they know if they text me, I can text back pretty rapidly. Usually I can check my phone like every half hour or so while the kids are working independently, and I can answer their one question that they had on a text. Otherwise, they know they can expect a response from me around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they all respect it. Nobody had hard feelings when I finally stood up for my family schedule. So the second tip that I want to discuss is that not all curriculum is created equal. So it's not all about what grades your kids are going to be getting, and it's not all about how many questions are in the workbook. It is more about how is it going to work for you and your child and the schedule. Or if you really have to work and somebody else is going to assist in your homeschooling, you need to make sure it's something that they feel comfortable with. So we have switched curriculums over the years a few times, and some of it was just that the curriculum did not work at all. Either it didn't have enough teacher interactive with it, or it was too teacher intensive. So finding that good balance is really, really important. I know I'm homeschooling 4 kids this year, and I cannot have 4 kids that have all subjects that are very teacher intensive. I just know I don't have the time for it during the day. So what I did was pick and choose which ones I can kind of let somebody else teach and which ones I keep to teach. I also have it in a way that we can change whether they watch the video or if I do parent-led throughout the week. And this is so, so helpful because there's been many a times that all of a sudden for work, I have something that I need to get done at home that I normally don't. And all of a sudden I am not available for the next 2 hours to be able to school my kids. So the pure fact I could tell them watch the video or sit down and do this instead, or we can keep our school day going basically while I try to get some school done. So when you're looking at curriculum, as I said, make sure you don't overschedule. Make sure that you're just doing the subjects that you feel like are really important. And when you start your school year, my biggest tip is to start slowly. So we normally start with 1 or 2 subjects for 1 week, and then we add a subject as each week goes on, as we feel like we have a good understanding of each subject. And so we definitely start with the 3 maining, the reading, the writing, the math, and then we add on from there. And so science and history, we're usually like at least a week behind from everything else, and that's just because we're not focused on getting those started right away in the school year, as I want them to really grasp the routine for everything else. Don't hesitate to be able to ask for help for people either. So if you're using a curriculum, make sure it's something that somebody else can understand too. I oftentimes, now that me and the kids have a really good routine, when I go to work, I can still have all 4 kids do school because I have done that much prep work for them that my husband can very easily open it up and get school done with them. But this didn't happen right away. I had to train the kids on how to make this happen. So how did I train my kids to make them independent with homeschool? I sat with them a lot. I literally, with my 5th grader, sat down with her every single subject, every single day to make sure she knew like where everything was. I made sure she knew what to click on next, what to do next, if she has questions, where to find those answers, what's the best way to study for quizzes or tests, all this kind of stuff. I literally taught her how to learn. So why is this important? Because as long as you know how to learn, you can learn just about anything. As long as you know what resources you have, you can find any answer you need to. And so I put in a lot of time and effort into making sure my kids could be independent learners. Now, does that mean that I just sit there on my phone all day on the couch and drink mocha? No, I'm still definitely very, very involved with them. But it also means I can have my fifth grader working on a subject while I'm helping my kindergarten twins with their subject. And that means that my K4, my 4-year-old, also knows what she's doing while I'm busy with another child. So to train them, we started by having the same routine every single day. Basically, we would get up and our morning routine would be the same. We'd clean up after breakfast, and then we would move on to the same order of things. I would always get my kindergartners started with math, and I would make sure they had everything they needed. And then I would go over and I would help my fifth grader get her started with spelling, because that's something she can do on the video lessons and does not need my help necessarily. So after I would get her going and the kindergartners would still be going on their math work, I would sit down with the 4-year-old and read a couple books or play a quick game. That way her bucket was filled and she didn't feel like she needed to interrupt our school day all day. So when you're homeschooling with littles, you can't just expect them to sit down and be quiet the whole entire day. It's very unfair to them. And so I try every couple of subjects to really do a nice activity with her, because otherwise she will stand there and say, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. And I get it. I'm sure she is bored. Other tips that I have as far as training your children to be more independent with homeschool is that you need to be available for them. You can sit them down and tell them exactly what work text pages they need to do or what problems they need to get done by a certain time, but unless you're holding them accountable, they're not going to do it. Kids are going to want to get away with anything that they can, and so you need to be very available to them. Or oftentimes I would find that one of my kids would just sit there and stare into space and not get anything done. And what it ended up coming down to was they weren't sure what they were supposed to do, or they were stumped on the problem that they were doing. And so instead of asking for help, they literally just sat there and did nothing. And so being available and making constant rounds to each kid to make sure that they're on task and they know what they're doing and that they can ask any questions that they need to ask is very, very important. The other part of accountability is if I expect my children to do the work, then they expect me to check it and make sure that they are doing it correctly. So what we end up doing, we started the homeschool year by I would check it at the end of the week and I would give them review at the end of the week so that they knew for the next week what to change. Well, then I realized a few of the things were making bad habits. 5 days of doing something incorrectly, it has become a habit at that point. And so what I now do is I literally check it right after we're done. So me and my oldest will sit down and we'll do math, and she hands me her work text page so that I can get it checked. We sit down, we do English, she hands me the work text page so we can get it checked. So I make sure she's definitely on task right away and I can catch any errors that she's making. This really, really makes the school day shorter because I'm not having to go and reteach stuff at a later time. A few other key things is remember that you don't have to finish the whole entire curriculum in 1 year. Public schools never finish the book from start to finish. And so what I have heard across the board is as long as you get 80% done, it's pretty normal. And so our goal is always at least 80%. And if we could get past then we're very, very happy. Like my twins right now, they are almost done with their kindergarten math, and so I'm just planning on rolling straight into the first grade math. But then there is another subject that my fifth grader is in that we are only 33% done when we should be about 50% done. And so it doesn't really stress me. It's just something that I keep in the back of my mind that it's okay if you don't finish absolutely every single lesson. And the last bonus tip that I almost feel like is the biggest tip of all is that pre-planning is everything. So this does not mean that you need to plan absolutely every minute of your day. And it doesn't mean you have to plan a whole entire year worth of schoolwork. So what I end up doing is I make a year at a glance that has the whole entire year of schoolwork, but it's more how many lessons is in this math curriculum and divide that by 36 weeks of our school year. And so how many lessons do we need to do each week? And I do that for each subject. So this is beneficial because it lets me know if we're a little bit on task or if we're really falling behind. And I'm very type A and I like to cross things off. So it's something I personally like. Because you as a homeschool mom, one thing you will always feel is that you're not doing enough. This helps me see that I'm actually doing more than what I feel like I'm doing. So it's a really positive thing for me. So after I get done with pre-planning the whole entire year, 36 weeks worth of stuff, and that is not in depth. It literally says like lesson 1 through 5, week 1. Week 2, lessons 6 through 10. It's very, very vague. Does not have anything specific on it. So then what I do next is I plan for the first quarter. That's 9 weeks. That's all I need to worry about at first is 9 weeks. And then I set up any extra printouts that my kids are going to need for the next 9 weeks. And that way I'm not wasting time every single day on a computer trying to figure out what I need to print out for them. It is so helpful that I already have it in a 3-ring binder and it's ready for them to flip straight to when I say that we need a certain handout. I have done this with all 4 of my kids, and all 4 of my kids, including the 4-year-old, can be completely independent with school on any given day if need be. So I plan 9 weeks at a time. I have absolutely all printouts, but I also look forward and see what type of activities or what type of craft items are we going to be needing. If we're going to be doing any science experiments, do I need to order anything? I just try to get everything together in one space so that when that day comes, we're ready and we can literally just pull it out of the area and do the experiment. And so this is so helpful, and it really decreases my stress. So me putting in 1 extra hour on a Saturday makes it so that I'm not stressed for 9 weeks, and that is so worth it. So the last part of prep that I do, and this has definitely changed over the years, is that I do plan out for 1 week what we're going to do. And I take into account if I have to work that week or not. So if I'm working 3 days that week, I know I need to drop a school day because otherwise it's just going to stress me and the kids. But that's fine because there's other weeks that I don't work at all during the week and we could do all 5 days. So overall, we definitely get our school done. And in fact, right now we are so far ahead and it feels awesome. So what does planning the school week look like for me? So before I would just turn to the next lesson and I would reverse plan. So I would write down what we did for that day after we did it. And then the next day I would write down what we did for that day after we did it. And that was fine. It worked really great for us. I felt like I was accountable. We had a lot of curriculum that was just flip to the next lesson and do it. Well, now we're doing BJU Press. It's distance learning online, but a lot of it I have switched over to parent-led also because we enjoy that. And so what I do is I have a template that I made by myself and I plan out a whole entire week at a time for my 5th grader to let her know exactly what she needs to get done for that day. And this way we're not flipping through separate video lesson guides to try to figure out what we need, and she's not confused on what the optional things are. She knows if it's on that lesson page, and it's only 1 page per week, so it's not much, but if it's on that lesson page, she knows it is something that, yes, I've looked at and I definitely want to do. I also put when there's quizzes or tests or anything such as that, so that she knows when she needs to study for those type of items. For my kindergartners, this looks a little bit different. And so what I do for them is that I have 5 folders of different colors, and each of them have a red folder. Each of them have a blue folder. Each of them have a purple folder, and so forth and so on. And I literally pull out all the work that they need for each day. So Monday's work goes into the red folder, and Tuesday's work goes into the blue folder, and Wednesday's work goes into the purple folder. And that way, literally I could say, it's a purple day, and they know to pull out the papers out of the purple folder, put it on their clipboard, and they know that's the work that we're going to focus on for this day. And so it has worked so great. Again, like I said, they can be completely independent with their work. I don't have to do anything. I just round and make sure that they're doing work. Other days we do parent-led where we don't use the videos at all, but they really enjoy the videos and there's a lot of extra activities. I do most of the time sit down with them and I'll pause it and I'll ask them extra questions or do a little activity on the side with them or something. So it's not that they're just sitting on the couch and they're watching it all on their own with no interaction. And then after school, we're doing different review things too in a play way or while we're sitting at supper or, different options just to include it into our daily life also. So for my 4-year-old, I do a lot of the same as what I do for my kindergartners, but I do more than 1 week's worth. And I make sure I get all craft supplies all ready because she usually has a craft per day. And so if she needs number beads 7, 8, and 9 and certain colors, then I make sure it's in a Ziploc baggie and it's in the folder with whatever she's doing for that day. Or if she needs 5 feathers, I'm going to make sure that it's in the folder for that day. And that way I'm not running around last second and saying, where did that package of feathers go, while she's sitting there getting bored. One thing I didn't focus on that I want to is that I work outside of the home part-time, but a lot of families are having to work at their house and try to school their kids at the same time. So I think my biggest advice on this is to give yourself some grace. This is hard for everybody. Everybody is trying, and it's very, very taxing when you have your kids with you all the time. You don't realize how mentally draining it can be that you are on all the time, basically. And so one tip that I can give you is that everybody kind of has their own space set up and everything is prepped for each person. So if you need to do a conference call and you need to get away from the kids, then maybe make sure that they understand, if I'm down in the office and the door is shut, I need my privacy. Or my kids know if I'm on a business call, they need to come up and they can put their hand on my hip, and that means that they need my help with something. Otherwise, they know that stuff can wait until I'm done with my business call. Also, if you have everything set up for your kids within reach and all prepared, then there's less chance that they're going to come and interrupt your work Zoom meeting or something. And so just trying to make sure each person has their own space and verbalize your expectation with your kids. It's amazing how many times they just didn't realize something, but once you say it out loud, it makes complete sense to them and they know that it's actually a rule at that point. And so make sure also to give breaks, be very interactive with each other, and that way everybody is more productive. All right, let me know down below how homeschooling is going for you. Whether you're homeschooling through a public school or you're doing it completely independently, let me know how your school year is going, because everybody knows that this year is different for every single household across the country. All right, so there is some of my tips on how to homeschool and be a working parent. Now, I know all of us work a little bit differently, but I think that the main takeaway for all of this is make it work for your family. No two households look the same as far as schedule, and so you need to just make sure that you do what is right for your family. And a lot of times you're doing a lot of learning that has nothing to do with a work text page. So if you never even get workbooks out for the day, don't feel like a failure, mama. You're doing perfect. Some days, literally, we just have board games and they are learning so much through those board games. And it's funny because they just think that you're playing and they're getting away with not doing school. So always have faith that you're doing the best that you can for your children. Give this video a big thumbs up if these tips are helpful to you. Also, make sure you're subscribed because more tips and tricks are coming your way.